was the champion, Teddy, I fought once or twice a year. When you go to chase that belt, you'll fight 3 times a year just to get there. You fight once or twice. Once you get it, Alex Pereira does not live by those same rules.
I mean, that guy is a monster. Absolute monster.
Ow! Ow! Ah, you hit people with it. Oh. Okay. All right.
Chama.
A man known for his calm and collected demeanor both inside and outside the octagon. He has made a name for himself as a cool and brutal monster in kickboxing, and now he reigns in the UFC. He has won millions of fans for his ferocity and incredible power. When Pereira headlines a card, fans know they're in for a real hunt in the main event, where Poatan will coldly and brutally take down his prey. Guys, get comfortable, because I'm about to tell you all about what it's like to face one of the most dangerous people on the planet, Alex Pereira. Chama! Alex Pereira began his journey in kickboxing in 2012, showcasing his remarkable strength, technique, and tactical thinking. After 3 years of hard training and fights, he burst into the elite ranks of kickboxers, achieving a series of landmark victories that earned him worldwide recognition and respect. Alex faced Israel Adesanya, the future UFC champion, twice in kickboxing. Pereira won by decision, and in 2018 he knocked Adesanya out, becoming one of the few fighters to accomplish this.
I touched on it early in the opening, but if it was in the pros, we'd be saying the guy's an amateur. The guy didn't even get any experience, and he's doing it. But he did have that kickboxing background, that pedigree, and that is serving him.
After a brilliant career in kickboxing where he became a 2-time glory champion in both middleweight and light heavyweight, Alex Pereira decided to try his hand at mixed martial arts in 2015. His debut was not triumphant. He suffered a defeat against the undefeated Hendrik van der Horst at that time. Despite the rocky start, Pereira was not about to give up. He quickly adapted to the new rules and secured a victory by technical knockout in his next fight. From that moment, the triumphant march in MMA began. Alex showcased a phenomenal ability to knock out opponents with his first powerful strikes, especially his left hook. His technical preparation, honed in kickboxing, was completed by wrestling and grappling skills, making him virtually invulnerable to his opponents. In 2018, Pereira made his UFC debut, immediately becoming one of the top contenders for the middleweight title.
Saying that he can't do something. I think time and time again, Alex Pereira has proven he can do whatever he wants.
Alex became the oldest debutant in the league, as he was already 34 years old at the time of his first fight in the UFC. The Brazilian was limited by time, but his potential was limitless. As a result, he had dazzling debuts against Andreas Michailidis. The only person to knock out Israel Adesanya, Brazilian Alex Pereira, is making his UFC debut this week. With 2 victories over the current UFC middleweight champion behind him, Pereira is confident that he will soon fight for the title in the strongest MMA league in the world. Ahead of UFC 268, the former kickboxer declared that he was ready to face Adesanya for a 3rd time at any moment. But first, he needed to announce his championship ambitions to the world, and Alex did just that. In a stunning fashion, he knocked out a top 20 middleweight opponent with a flying knee. Even then, the world began to talk about him as a dark horse destined to change the balance of power in the division. For Poatan, his destructive strikes were not just a style. He embodied an animalistic and immeasurable power.
Oh! What percent was this?
What's percent?
That's percent.
10%.
Tell him I want 25, but not crazy.
Okay,
it's
25
like, that's it, at the most.
Okay.
25, but that's it.
Not mine.
Okay. Oh!
Huh?
Yeah.
What?
That's why with you is always wrestle takedown.
And it certainly deserved more. Its uniqueness lay in the fact that the 2 world-class strikers were facing off. Before this, Silva fought just 3 times in the UFC, all won by knockout, and before signing with the largest MMA portion, he had instilled fear throughout the M1 League. It was a battle of exchanges. Closer to the end of the round, Silva managed to take out his opponent and down him, and landed a few strikes against the cage. It seemed the takedown would secure him the round, but Alex quickly got back to his feet and unleashed a series of strikes from close range, strikes so powerful that Bruno had never faced such force before. Swiftly and technically air striker. Silva didn't look as polished, but he was still very dangerous. In the 3rd round, Silva, as before, pressed forward, but Pereira remained more accurate. Midway through the round, during another attack from Bruno, Alex caught him with a jab on the retreat. Silva wobbled, and Pereira rushed into the finish. It was truly amazing how Bruno managed to stay on his feet. Alex delivered his strikes as if hammering nails, sharp and forceful. From his experience, Silva realized that his opponent's punches were not just very strong, they could be lethal. Then Alex shook his opponent again, and Bruno swayed once more, yet still didn't go down and began throwing wide punches, of which all missed their mark. That night, the audience witnessed a bright and entertaining 3-round war, with a unanimous decision going to the Brazilian. Came a wave of hate directed at Pereira. Many simply didn't believe that a clearly defined striker could become a UFC champion and defeat one of the most dominant middleweight champions in the promotion's history. Yes, Pereira had beaten Israel in kickboxing and was the only person on the planet to knock out the style bender. Sean couldn't be blamed for saying his words didn't matter. Alex was indeed strong on his feet, but his style could not be called weak. Pereira simply hadn't revealed himself as a mixed martial artist yet. With only 2 fights in the UFC, his star might just begin to shine. Unbeknownst to him, Strickland helped Pereira ignite the star. Alex was set to fight one of the best in the division, win convincingly, and earn a title shot. And that night, Pereira was unstoppable. The fight ended in the first round, with the Brazilian knocking out the cocky top contender in his weight class with a sharp and powerful strike. Pereira coldly dealt with his opponent and shattered all his dreams of winning the championship belt.
What we say about Alex is he hits really hard, and when those punches connect, you tend to not know what can happen.
In the wild, predators always survive, and in the middleweight jungle, Alex was determined to take his place at the top of the food chain. If you want to be the best, you have to beat the best. It's that simple. In front of a multi-million-dollar audience, Poatan challenged Izzy, and this was the fight the whole world had been waiting for.
Israel Adesanya wanted to turn around right after this last fight. We said it was Pereira. He said perfect.
This wasn't a fight that was forced upon you by the UFC. You want this fight.
Yeah, of course.
You want this fight.
I've never ever ducked anyone.
Adesanya himself considered Pereira unprepared to fight for the title and believed this match wouldn't happen in 2022 if it weren't for the Brazilian's past successes in kickboxing. In some ways, he was right. However, over the past couple of years, Israel had thoroughly cleaned out the middleweight division, defeating all the star fighters, some even twice. Thus, the matchmakers had no choice but to promote the one-seeded rivalry, which sparked colossal interest among fans. It was no coincidence that their duel was placed at the head of the most prestigious event at Madison Square Garden.
Well, I'm glad it happened because I wouldn't be here where it was. And even the same guy now he watches all my fights, and every time I fight, like clockwork, he'll try and put something out like, I beat this guy. But I've never ever watched any of his fights, ever. So at the end of the day, no one knows who the he is. And he's gonna be that guy when I'm world champion, when I'm a legend. He's gonna be at some pub, talking some shit about, I beat that guy one time, trying to get a dick sucked from a crack whore or some shit.
The first 2 rounds were evenly contested in striking. The audience flinched after every high kick from Pereira or counterattack from Adesanya. Although the Brazilian was on the defensive in the first 5 minutes, he completely lost the end of the round. A powerful right straight from the Nigerian landed squarely on his head and nearly knocked him down. A left uppercut followed after the bell, thanks to the referee's slow reaction, second segment. So much so that Israel decided to take him down but was unsuccessful. Instead, the challenger landed several heavy jabs and straight punches to the opponent's head, equaling skills. The takedown in the final seconds became a sort of testament and helped the former Glory champion fully believe in all his abilities. However, the mixed martial arts is considered one of the most unpredictable sports, and this was confirmed once again. In a desperate situation, Pereira surged forward and achieved an incredible success. Problems arose for Adesanya just 2 minutes into the fight when he threw a low kick and lost his balance. Alex seized the initiative, and just seconds later, he landed a left uppercut. The Brazilian unleashed a barrage of strikes on his groggy opponent, forcing the referee to intervene.
Fala Brasil! Eu falei que ele vai se durar pro Brasil. Muito feliz, muito obrigado a todos pela torcida, essa energia positiva que vocês sempre vem mandando pra mim. Muito obrigado!
Alex did it. Years of Israel's dominance came to an end, and now the champion had a new name, Alex Pereira. The Brazilian found himself in a very uncomfortable position, being the underdog and uninstilling much hope for championship ambitions. The one who was supposed to take out the victim fell by her hand instead. It was simply unbelievable. The crowd welcomed the new champion.
On
honestly, he's a special fighter. He's a special human being, what he's done in this game, in fighting, and for his life as well. And I'll always respect him. And I'm grateful for those moments because for me, it taught me so much about myself and where I can go.
A few months later, Adesanya managed to avenge his loss, but Pereira had completely different plans. Due to his size, he could no longer comfortably make weight, which severely affected his mental and physical health. A decision was made. Alex debuted in the light heavyweight division with a victory over Jan Blachowicz. What's next for him? Obviously a title fight at UFC 295. Alex dominated Yuri Prochazka and became the champion. Phenomenal. In just 2 years since his debut on the roster, Alex has ended the career of 4 champions in the organization.
Known for knocking a lot of guys out. So do you see this fight playing out that same way where you're going to knock out Alex?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, 100%. I see myself as superior everywhere. I see myself as a superior striker, as a superior grappler, as a superior clinch worker, as a superior thinker, as everywhere. I'm superior to him in everywhere in this game. And I'm going to show the levels to that.
But what lies ahead for the Brazilian? Pereira's opponent, Jamahal Hill, had also been a champion before. In January 2023, he decisively defeated Glover Teixeira. Overall, Jamahal had a professional record of 14 fights, 8 of which took place in the UFC. Alex was set to break another fighter's career, and that evening he delivered one of the best knockouts in his career. The fighters began the match with a slow-paced exploration. For a couple of minutes, they acted so cautiously that the spectators started to whistle, demanding action. They didn't have to wait long. Already in the 4th minute of the first round, Pereira found his distance and threw his signature left hook, knocking Hill down. At first, it seemed like Alex wasn't going to finish the stunned opponent, but after a moment, though, he decided to land a few strikes on the ground.
You gotta listen to me. This guy has that crazy power. He's got something weird where he hits guys. They look confused. I watched him beat everything. I watched him beat Jason Wellness. I watched him fuck up everybody over there.
For Pereira, this victory marked his 7th in the UFC, only his 10th in mixed martial arts. For double champion with 1 title defense under his belt, the result was simply outstanding. Poatan entered the history books as one of the fiercest champions in UFC history, and just recently he did it again. This time, Alex won even more dominantly than their first fight. After a smart exploration in the first round in the final seconds, the Brazilian nearly knocked his opponent out, but Prochazka was saved by the bell. Just 1 second into the second round, Alex, fueled by the instinct of a hunter, charged his opponent and landed an incredible high kick. Prochazka fell again, but this time he couldn't get back up on his own. Pereira had completely cleaned out yet another division. He is a true hunter, a real killer, and a genuine monster. Whenever he fights, blood spills. Alex finished his work in the light heavyweight division.
I'm standing up there with the belt and I had Joe Rogan in my ear the whole time we were up there. Let him fight heavyweight, come on, just do it. So, I know that's what people want to see. We'll see how this whole thing plays out.
And now things are developing perfectly for Alex. He's considered returning to middleweight to claim the precious title from Dricus du Plessis, after which he could fight very well and fight the legendary John Jones. Agree that Pereira is not just a fighter. He embodies suffering, pain, and fear. He is fear, power, and human strength in the flesh. We're damn lucky to live in this time and witness this monster's performances live.